these are some things that are absolutely important when it comes to raising sons. We live in a very dangerous world, right? Where someone could take advantage of us at any time. I'm a huge fan of allowing my kids to take risks and to do things that are uncomfortable, to try new things and to fail. We talk about failure a lot in our house. Failure is welcome here, right? Because we can't be successful without failure. The third aspect when it comes to raising boys is that we need to teach them to be. Any dad who's raising sons, we need some advice. We need some guidance. There's many men out there like myself that actually weren't raised in an environment where there was a functional father figure. Half my childhood was spent without a father figure in the home whatsoever. And then the other half was spent with usually some sort of toxic element of a father figure. My mom was married a total of 3 times and dated several men in between. And it was always a variety of different men who would come in and out of the picture. But most of all, they were toxic. They were abusers. They were into drinking and drugs, and they really weren't functional human beings. And a lot of times it was a really horrible negative experience. That was my childhood. However, it wasn't all doom and gloom for me. I had an incredible grandfather, and he really stepped up. He stepped up and he showed me what a man is supposed to be about. And I've been podcasting now for 10 years, and I have learned so much over the past 10 years, not only from my own mistakes, but from experts in the field of what it means to raise good young men. And I've been raising young men now for 18 years. Made a lot of mistakes, but I've also learned a lot of really good lessons. And I just want to share them with you. The first lesson that I've learned is our boys are going to learn how to communicate, protect, and respect a woman by how they see us treat their mom. That's really important. If you really think about it, our kids have, our sons especially, have a front row seat, a 3D motion picture to our marriage, to the way that they see how we treat their mom. They see how we communicate with them. They see if we show respect. They're watching if we're opening up doors, if we're making decisions, or if we're just relying on mom to make all the decisions in the family and she just basically runs the show and we just take a back seat. Some dads are just, quite frankly, unfortunately, just physically there, but checked out. Like we're into our phones, we're into our Netflix or football or whatever, and we're there, we're present, but we're not really there. What we really need to do is we really need to show our boys, we have a tremendous opportunity to show them what it means to communicate with our wives, what it means to show respect, to show love, what it means to protect, how we actually even go about resolving conflict. That's another really big one. Our kids are going to learn conflict resolution by watching us. So it's really important, obviously, that we have these skills, that we communicate with our wives in a really loving manner, that we communicate with them in a way that's respectful, and that we also have those same things. One of the things that also we show our boys, and this is, I think, really rests with the moms, is that I take on the responsibility and the identity that my boys are going to learn how to treat a woman, how to be married, how to communicate, how to love, and how to lead for me, right? So I need to be that example, and I need to constantly be learning. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she identifies with, I need to show these boys what it means for a woman to love a man, to treat him with respect, to treat him with appreciation, to not emasculate him, to build him up, to support him, to love him, to be affectionate with them, to sing his praises in front of his kids and not to tear him down. I'm not saying that we can't ever be critical or we can't ever get some feedback that we don't like. However, what's really meaningful and important for my wife is to show my boys, hey, this is how a man should be treated, and you should not tolerate anything less than this. The other thing we need to teach our boys is we need to teach them how to prioritize what is important. And I'll tell you, our society is filled with this. And yes, I have Jesus on my screensaver. But our kids, a lot of the generation today, they are just consumed by these mobile devices, whether it's an iPad, whether it's their phone, whatever, video games that never end, they don't have an end. But we need to teach our kids how to prioritize what's important. And all we have to do is look around publicly and we see kids, and we see adults do this too, just in their phones. They're distracted. They're not really taking care of their physical bodies. They're not taking care of their mental health. They're not prioritizing their schoolwork or their homeschool work. They're not prioritizing their physical fitness and sports. It's everything, that revolves around distractions and comfort. It's really up to us to hold the standard and teach them how to prioritize things. One of the things that we do in our house, while it sounds kind of crazy, we go about this very seriously. So in our house, we prioritize our education. So that's number one. We prioritize learning financial literacy. So how to manage money. My kids, ever since the age of 9 years old, have had their own custodial investment accounts where they invest their own money. They save their own money. Every single quarter, I bring them to my financial advisor meetings so they can see what their money is doing, how it's investing and how it's growing, or how they're losing money in the market or whatever it is. I also teach them how to budget, but we prioritize things that are important. So for us, it's education. It's our faith. It's family time. It's conversations. It's not us being buried in our phones and distracted, where we're sitting next to each other, sharing in the same space. We are actually in each other's space and having conversations. We also prioritize relationships and friendships and things like that that are really important and meaningful. We also prioritize our physical fitness, healthy body, healthy mind. We prioritize our mental health as well. A lot of these things are not on our radar as parents, and they're not on our kids' radar as well. But if we're going to raise functional human beings, we have to teach them and we have to prioritize what is important. Every single Sunday in my house, we do an accountability check-in. The accountability check-in is, let's go check out your room. Is everything organized? Let's check out your laundry. Make sure it's clean and folded. Let's see your grades and see how those are doing. How much money do you have in your bank account? And what expenses do you have coming up? And let's budget. Let's also save. All these different things, getting our kids ready for life. And they're not going to be ready for life if all they're doing is being buried in their mobile devices. We just don't want that. The third aspect when it comes to raising boys is that we need to teach them to be resilient. And how do we do that? There's several different ways we can go about doing this. I'm a huge fan of allowing my kids to take risks and to do things that are uncomfortable, to try new things and to fail. We talk about failure a lot in our house. I learned this actually from a podcast guest, Sean Patrick Flannery, came on the show. Many of you may or may not know, he's a Hollywood actor. Many people know him because of that. He's been in several different movies like Powder back in the 90s. He was just in a huge movie called Nefarious. Boondock Saints is another movie. He's been in over 50 films over the past couple decades, but what an incredible individual. He's also been doing jiu-jitsu for the past 20 years. His two boys are pretty young. I think they're only about 12 and 10, and they're both state finalist wrestlers, and they've been training all their life. And one of the things that Sean Patrick Flannery is big on is resilience. And he talks to his kids about failure, and he talks to them about taking risks. And we always talk about like, hey, when you do something new for the very first time, you're probably going to suck at it. And we're going to put in failure reps. We're going to put in reps that we're going to not feel great about, right? But that's how we become resilient. We try new things. We get uncomfortable. We eat a slice of humble pie. That's all okay. Failure is welcome here, right? Because we can't be successful without failure. Another thing too is we always finish what we start. Anytime my kids enter in a new sport, whether it's hockey, wrestling, basketball, baseball, football, it really doesn't matter. There are times in that season where that sport is going to get tough and they don't really feel like going to practice and they don't want to go to the games. It's either too hot or it's too cold or it's too hard or it's whatever. Our answer to that is you show up anyway, despite your feelings. You signed up for this sport. You show up to all practices. You show up to all games. We understand that sickness happens and things and injuries happen. However, if we don't have fevers and we're not throwing up and we're healthy, we're showing up, period. That's what the Hagners do. The other thing too is we always finish what we start, like I said, which means if we're going to start a sport or we're going to start anything, whether that's piano lessons or saxophone lessons or a sport or anything in school, we are going to see that through until the end of the season, despite having the temptation to quit, because every kid is going to have the temptation to quit. The other thing too is celebrating resilience after it's executed. So like, for instance, how many times have your kids complained about how they don't want to go to practice? They don't want to do something. And then they go. And then afterwards, they feel like they're on cloud nine. We praise that. We appreciate that. We recognize that. We shine a spotlight on that. Like, hey, I know you didn't feel like going to practice today. How do you feel now that you went? Man, I feel amazing. Right. When we hold our word, when we do the things that we don't feel like doing, but we do them anyway, that's what builds confidence in our kids. It's holding our own word to ourselves, not listening to our feelings. That builds resilience over time. Many of us don't feel like doing something throughout the day, but we do it anyway because it's just has to be done. Our boys need to learn resilience. And the way we teach them resilience is, number one, failure's welcome. I want you to fail because that's how you learn how to succeed. Also, Despite our feelings, if you don't feel like showing up, you show up anyway. And we always, always, always finish what we start, even if we don't feel like it. We need to teach our boys how to make money. I alluded to this earlier. When it comes to money management, it's really important to teach our kids how to manage money, how to budget, how to spend wisely. But most importantly, you can teach them how to make money. So my kids, while they're on a budget, we always talk about budget every single week. They're in charge of their own money. We have conversations around what expenses they have coming up and what's going on for them and how they need to save. If Christmas is coming up, how much do they need to set aside? But I've also taught them how to be entrepreneurs and how to make money without necessarily having a quote unquote 9-to-5 job. So it was about a year ago, my son wanted to make some extra money. And instead of saying like, hey, I think I'll go find a job, he wanted to literally go wash dishes at a senior living home, making about $14 an hour. And I thought that that was pretty cool. But I asked him a question. I was like, what if you could make more money? What if you could make your own hours and you could actually enjoy something that you're doing versus washing dishes? I mean, if you want to wash dishes, that's fine. But is that something you really want to do? Is that something that really brings you to life and something you'd like to do? And also, would you rather do something on your own time? And of course, he was like, no, it doesn't really excite me at all. But my buddy is doing it, blah, blah, blah. And, he's making money and that's kind of cool. And, maybe I could go do that too. I was like, well, what if you started your own business? And then he was just like, I'm too young for that. I was like, actually, you're not at all. What do you like to do as far as work goes? Like, what brings you some joy? And my son told me, he's like, to be honest, it sounds kind of crazy. I love washing my car. I love washing my car because I love the feeling that I get polishing up something that's dirty and making it feel like it's new again. And plus, like, I just take a lot of pride in how my car looks for my friends, for my girlfriend. And I really like doing that. It's actually quite therapeutic for me to wash my car. And I was like, well, that's really fascinating. What if you started a car detailing business? And then his mind just exploded and he went on a journey. He went out and purchased with his own money all the supplies he needed. He bought a power washer. He bought all the soaps he needed, all the sponges he needed. He even bought this drill with this steel bit on it that actually got all the grime and grease and everything off of hubcaps. So like when he's washing tires and everything. And my son charged $65 for a detail that takes him about 2 hours. And he was just overjoyed. He's like, I can't even believe this. He's like, I can actually make my own schedule. I can charge $65 an hour for 2 hours of my time, which is double the amount of money that I was going to make at this job. Not to mention the fact that there's obviously some advantages if people are paying me in cash versus if I'm taking a paycheck. That's really helpful as well. And I can totally schedule this around my sports activities, my school, my girlfriend, my friends, everything. And I can actually make more money doing that. And he did that for a year and just did amazing. He made his own appointments. He marketed it on social media. He got customers. He got repeat customers, but he was so excited with the fact that he was able to learn how to make money. And then from that, we talked about like, hey, there's a certain percentage that you save. There's a certain percentage that you give. There's a certain percentage of this that you can go out and have fun money with. There's also, you need to now pay for your cell phone bill. You have gas to pay for. You have your car insurance to pay for. So all these adult things where, money management is key, but I think it's also really, really important that we teach them how to make money. That one is really important as well. We also need to teach our kids to be kind to others, but also dangerous. And what I mean by that is we live in a very dangerous world, right? Where someone could take advantage of us at any time. We don't have to go far to see all the crime that's happening in the world right now. The CEO of United Healthcare was just gunned down in public. People are getting mugged right and left at gunpoint. People are getting attacked right and left. People think it's hilarious to make funny TikTok videos of people being surprised and snuck up on and just being beat down. So we live in a dangerous world. So what's really important, if you're raising boys, you need to teach them to protect themselves and people that they love. So in our house, there's always martial arts. There's always something that we're teaching to protect. All my kids know how to handle firearms. All my kids know how to handle themselves. We've done wrestling, we've done jujitsu, we've done karate. We've done all kinds of different things to make sure that we are protecting ourselves. Most importantly, too, when we are out in public, My kids know to be vigilant. We've taught them to be vigilant. We've taught them to look for exits when they're in a public place. We've taught them to sit in a place that they can always see the exit in eyesight and know where exits are when they're in a public place. We've also taught them to be very vigilant and look for suspicious behavior in others, whether that's somebody's trying to, sneak away and do something, whether that's somebody is potentially carrying something, a weapon of some sort, or we just see any type of suspicious behavior that somebody is doing, whether we're walking down the street and we just don't get a very good vibe, but being very, very vigilant that, hey, we are the protectors. The other thing too is we teach our kids to be kind, right? I've always told my kids, if you're the bully, if I find out that you are bullying somebody else, there will be a swift and harsh punishment. We do not bully. However, we do protect. We protect ourselves and we protect others. So in my house, in our house, the way our boys are taught is you have the right to defend yourself against evil. If someone is trying to intimidate you, if someone is trying to beat you up, if someone's trying to hurt you or someone else you love, you have every single right to defend yourself. And if you get in trouble at school, well, they can come and talk to me and they can come and talk to your mom because we will defend that all day long. However, we are also kind. We are kind to others and we don't bully others. And my kids know if there is any bullying that they are doing, well, they'll probably have hell to pay at home. One other thing we want to teach our kids is emotional IQ, right? Emotional IQ. In our house, we talk about feelings a lot. Now, I'm not talking about the airy fairy, like I've just my feelings and my feelings and my feelings. No, we are big on teaching our kids emotional IQ. If you feel something, we help you identify it. So if you're feeling anger, we help you identify anger and we help you identify why you're feeling that way, right? If you're feeling sadness, right? We help identify sadness and why are we feeling sad? What's the trigger? What do we do about it? We have so many adult people walking the earth that are quite frankly just angry. And when we ask like, hey, what's wrong? I don't know. Well, you seem upset. I am. Why? I don't know. I'm angry. Why? I don't know. There's a lot of adults out there that we have no idea why we feel the way we feel. And sometimes we're confused of what exactly we are feeling. Sometimes we confuse sadness with anger or anger with sadness. Or sometimes we confuse sadness with being frustrated, right? So like understanding what each emotion is and how it shows up for us and what we can do about it is tremendously helpful, not only for us, but it actually also helps them in relationships. Because if they understand what they're feeling and why, they're also going to be able to pick up on what other people are feeling and why. And when we can have better conversations and better connections and relationships because we have a higher level of emotional IQ, that's going to serve everybody. And unfortunately, when it comes to boys aren't raised with a whole lot of emotional IQ. We are raised to toughen up, man up, grow a set of balls. And trust me, there's absolutely a time and a place for that. However, when it comes to learning what these emotions are all about, why we feel them, what to do with them, that's something a little different. And the final one is this, and this one might be triggering, but like it or not, you are the spiritual leader in your home. Now, I'm not here to preach to you about how you should believe in God or have faith in God. I mean, that's up to you and that's your business. Some people believe in the universe. Some people are Buddhist. Some people are Muslim. It really doesn't matter. But having a relationship with our Creator, right, for us as men, and to teach our kids to also have that relationship with their Creator. I know when I grew up in Catholic school my entire life. Quite frankly, it was really odd. We were taught prayers, but we weren't really taught how to pray. I know that sounds really odd, but we were taught all these prayers that you can say, but never really having a conversation or a relationship with our Creator, with God. In our home, we teach our kids how to pray through conversation, not recited prayers that have been written down for eons, but literally how to have a conversation with their Creator, how to ask for help when they need it, how to ask for forgiveness when they need it, how to ask for things that they need when they need it, also to give gratitude to their Creator and adoration and love and all these different things. This is the type of guidance our kids need when it comes to praying. A lot of our kids, they grow up, they believe in God, but they're like, I don't really know how to communicate with God. I don't really know how to pray. If you ask your kids, do you know how to pray? They might tell you like, yeah, I know how to pray. I know the Our Father. I understand you know the Our Father, but do you know how to have a conversation with God? Do you know what to say? Do you feel odd saying it? And if so, what is it all about? Let's talk about how you talk to your Creator and let's get you comfortable talking to your Creator in the way that feels best for you. I hope this was really, really helpful for you. I know that there is a variety of different things, but some of these things that we talked about today, while everything is not on the list, these are some things that are absolutely important when it comes to raising sons.